Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I am going to be giving you 5 pros and 5 cons to becoming a mental health professional, specifically in my case, a therapist. Now, I wanted to make this video because so many people who find my YouTube channel are aspiring therapists or are currently in grad school. And on my walk today with my dogs, I was just thinking, like, this field has so many great things about it and also so many negative things that it really is like hard to figure out if it's the right path for you, because you can't just say, I want to help people and have that be enough. You also need to be able to afford things and have a good quality of life and not burn out. Burnout is a huge problem in the mental health field, probably like, I would say, the biggest problem for mental health professionals. So I could go on, but I want to say all of this in a very structured way so I don't lose anybody. So if this sounds like content that you would be interested in, please give this video a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. It helps me so much. My name is Alyssa Powers and I make YouTube videos to teach you the things that grad school didn't, so you can thrive as a mental health professional. Getting straight into the pros, I want to start positive here. Number 1 is that being a therapist is very meaningful work. I would say that most people who come into our profession want to help people, and that is their driving force. No one is really becoming a therapist because they want to get rich quick or because it's easy or simple. I would say most people have either been impacted by a great therapist themselves, they've had mental health struggles, or they are really interested in psychology. But what it comes down to is it's a super tangible way to help, which is so beautiful and probably is my favorite thing about the field. And I would say most therapists probably feel that way. So it is super meaningful. Number 2, being a therapist can be extremely flexible. So I work in private practice. I have my own business. I know that is not the case for everybody, but for me, private practice has opened the door for things to look kind of just how I need them to in specific seasons of my life. So for instance, I used to work 4 days a week, probably about 20 hours of direct client care back when I was working for a group practice. And then when COVID happened and the world kind of shut down, I was like, well, I'm just going to work more because people really needed mental health support at that time, and I just wasn't doing anything. So then I started working 5 days a week because so many people were reaching out to me in 2020. And then I got pregnant in 2022 and started to make my caseload smaller. And then I took a 4-month-long maternity leave, which is really long for the US, unpaid, obviously. We don't have FMLA in Ohio or anything, but I was blessed to be able to do that. And now I work 3 days a week, sometimes more like 2. It depends how many clients I have that week. And I have a much smaller caseload because I want to spend time with my son and focus on being a mom. And when I have another baby, if I get to have another baby, I plan to maybe just work like 1 day a week. And it is just the biggest blessing. I work from home. I'm fully remote. I've had no problems filling my caseload with those, things. I only take self-pay at this point. I'm not taking any clients who use insurance, even though I still have some old clients that do. But it has been life-changing and amazing. But even if you want to be a therapist and you're not interested in owning a practice, there are so many different settings that you can work in. You could work in a school, you could work in a hospital, you could work in a nursing home, you could work in an agency is probably the most common place. You could work at a rehab, at a detox center, like the list goes on and on. So it doesn't have to be only private practice, but specifically private practice is amazing for work-life balance. Now, number 3, I think this is really unique about our field. How do I explain this? Like, the field is really customizable. Like, you can do therapy in the way that you want to do it. There's no one size fits all. Like, yes, there are specific ways to do therapy that you might have to abide by. Like, maybe you're running a CBT group, a DBT group, something like that. But overall, you can make therapy kind of your own. It's gonna be your own rapport with clients, your personality. In terms of like working in a private practice, no one's telling me what techniques to pull from. I get to choose what techniques I enjoy telling clients about and what I think is gonna work best for them. So it's very customizable. And I think a lot of fields are not like that. Like, if you're a tax accountant, there's probably like one way that you can do taxes. Maybe there are like a couple different ways. I'm sure that it's not that black and white, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just numbers, it's straightforward. This therapy is not a straightforward art. It evolves, changes, you learn things, you learn what works, what doesn't work, the modalities you enjoy working from. So that is super fun. And in grad school, you get to talk all about like what modalities you're interested in. You get to try new things out. You're in the learning stage. I just think it's fun to be able to learn and read research. I'm really, really into happiness research. So like the World Happiness Organization, the Happiness Lab podcast, that is what I pull from. Not that that's a specific modality, but more so just like research-based ways to improve well-being is what I really like to focus on. So that could be a whole other video. If you're interested in hearing about that, let me know, because I've wanted to make a video about happiness research for the longest time. I just feel like it might not be something that everyone cares about. So, okay, number 4 is that you can do therapy from anywhere. If you are remote, this is kind of specific to my situation, but say for instance, I moved to California. Do you know that I can still see all of my clients in Ohio? Yes, there would be a time difference and that could be a little bit tricky, but as long as I'm licensed in the state that my clients are residing in, I can live anywhere. So I just think that's kind of unique too, because we hear like, oh, you can't, you have to see clients where you're licensed, but you don't have to be there. They have to be there. So kind of interesting. A lot of people who are dual licensed then are able to keep seeing clients. So I have a friend who lived in Ohio for a while, and she was also licensed, I want to say, in New York. And I think she is now residing in New York, and she's been able to still see her Ohio clients remotely and take new clients on that live in New York. So kind of cool. And then the 5th and final pro is that therapists will always be needed. I think the need for therapists is only rising and rising as the mental health crisis is getting worse and worse, sadly. I don't know that empathy can be manufactured. I know so many people now are talking about AI and that replacing therapists, and I personally don't think that there will ever be a true replacement for therapists. I think there could be some like helpful softwares that maybe walk people through different cognitive processes, like CBT, for instance, but I just really do not see us being replaced. I think the need will only ever go up. So there is some job security in that. And I think us as therapists really need to harness the fact that like, we are a commodity. It takes a lot to get to where we are, and we should not be getting paid like $25, $35 an hour. We should be getting paid much more and really advocating for ourselves in our field. So those are my 5 pros. Let's get into the cons. Number one con is the low pay. I mean, like I said, no one goes into the field to get rich, but really the pay is bad, and it does depend on the context that you're in. Like, I've been really happy with my private practice income, but overall, for how much work and time you put in to get this license as a master's level mental health provider, it's low. It's just low compared to so many other fields. And you will see that most female dominated fields get paid much lower than male dominated fields. So teachers, I guess healthcare, like nurses and stuff, is kind of an exception, but the pay is low. I will try to remember to link up in the cards my video about how much therapists make and how you can figure that out based off what context you're interested in. It's my video that has done the best on my channel. So the pay is low, and we deserve to be paid really well for what we are doing because it is hard work. Now, number two, I referenced this already, but burnout in our field is like an epidemic. I see people, other therapists talking on Reddit all the time about how they are going to leave the field after they've gone through grad school, they've gotten their hours, they've taken their tests, like they want to leave. That is astounding to me because you put so much time into getting to where you are, and then to be that burned out that you can't do it anymore. I mean, I empathize, like I completely understand, but burnout in our field, because it is an emotionally taxing job, and then you're not getting paid well on top of that. I think burnout is just, that could be like a whole video. There are videos online actually about therapist burnout and how to avoid it. So that is number two. And then number three is that becoming a therapist is a really long and drawn out process with many steps. So getting licensed, it's just a lot. Let me walk you through it in the Spark Notes version. So first, you're gonna need a bachelor's degree. It doesn't have to be completely related to therapy. It doesn't have to be psychology, but you probably need to have a pretty decent GPA. Then you apply to a clinical mental health counseling program if you want to be a LPCC. If that's the route that you're going, there are multiple routes. I have videos on that too, so can't explain that all here. That program is probably 2.5 to 4 years, depending on how quickly you go through it. It's going to include 2 semesters of a practicum and 2 semesters of an internship. Practicum can sometimes be 1 semester. My university did 2, just as a little side note. Then you're going to take your NCE test towards the end of that program, and that will enable you to then get licensed, like pre-licensed basically, and you'll have to be under supervision for 2 years and get a certain amount of hours. I don't want to misspeak about how many hours that is, so I will not put that here, but it's quite a bit of hours. And then you take another test, which is the HNCE, something like that. It's a crazy acronym. And then you get your second C, and then you don't need to be under supervision anymore, and then you're fully licensed, and then you can go on to get your supervision designation if you so choose. I'm exhausted just explaining that. So I am now an lpcc-s, and it took me, I did it pretty quick. I also did grad school pretty quick. I'm just like, that's the kind of person I am. I don't like to wait. And I'm glad I did it when I was fairly young, because now that I have my son, I could have never done this. I mean, people do it. People go back all the time and have kids, and maybe having school age kids would probably be easier than I have a 10-month-old. I keep pointing because his nursery is right there, and I'm always kind of whispering during my videos because I don't want to wake him up, which I know is not great for the audio, but anyways, that's something to think about. It takes a minute to get to where you need to be. Number 4 is that being a therapist can desensitize you to the hard stuff. So like hearing, depending what kind of clients you work with, hearing hard stuff like about abuse and trauma, it's tough. It's a lot to carry, and you have to be able to fill your cup and basically take care of your mental health and be in therapy yourself, probably, I think, to do this job well. I could say more about that, but I'll just leave that there, that it can desensitize you to things. And then the fifth and final con, this is a little bit less obvious than some of my other ones, but I think that being a therapist can really change how you interact with the people around you in your personal life. So it can change, hopefully for the better, like your family relationships. You might need to have more boundaries. Friendships, I know I felt like when I became a therapist that I couldn't have friends that were very emotionally needy because it just felt like it was too much. I needed friends that were also willing to take care of their mental health and that weren't using me for constant emotional support. Of course, friendship in general, the nature of it is mutual emotional support. So no worries. I'm still very supportive of my friends, but I couldn't have friends that were wanting to use me as their stand-in therapist. And on top of all of that, like going out into the world, if you live in a small town or community where you're going to see clients out and about, you have to remember that, like, that you kind of have eyes on you. And even therapists who are on dating apps and then they live where they have clients that they're like seeing on those apps, there's just a lot of little nuanced things that you don't think about. I don't know that that's a reason to not be a therapist at all, but it's something that I would have never thought about if I didn't already have this experience. So I don't want to make this video too long, but there are your 5 pros and 5 cons. I would love to hear down below which ones stood out to you, and if you have any that you could add to the list if you are a practicing therapist or even just starting out in grad school. I would love to hear it. If you found this video helpful, I would love it if you would stick around and subscribe. Today is Eclipse Day in Ohio. I just want to throw that in there for my own records. I hope that if you guys are in the path of totality that you get to see it. It's going to be partly cloudy here today, so I'm like fingers crossed that we can see it and that it's a cool experience. I think either way, even if it is cloudy, something is still gonna happen, and I'm super pumped. So I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.